I started quilting after I was working. I was teaching school. I have 7 children, and I saw a quilt in a magazine that I wanted to do, and it was and I didn't know much about quilting, and so I just took the instructions as it was. It was before they did strip quilting, and so I cut out 2.5-inch squares out of a gazillion pieces of fabric that I had because I had sewn for my children when they were growing up, and so I had all these scraps, and so I cut out a lot. It was a triple Irish chain, and so I started with that, and I cut out the squares, and I sewed each square together, and I put them in a pattern, and it was really fun. And actually it was very therapeutic for me, you know, because I was teaching, and I had all my children, and it was just really fun for me to sit down and just relax and play with this fabric. We were up at the state fair one time, and we saw a quilting machine, and it was the least expensive, and that's what we were looking for. We can't spend a lot on it, and we bought it, and we were not happy with it. In fact, I don't think we ever even did a quilt with it. We played with it, and it just didn't seem to work good. And she was living in Orem at the time, and I was in Beaver, and so I was working with it, and it didn't work, and we weren't very happy. And then Kerri saw the handy quilter, the Simply 16, Sweet 16, and she says, "I'm going to buy this." And I said, "Oh, good, buy it." "That's great. You buy it, and I'll use it." And she bought it, and she set it up, and we loved it. And we started quilting, and we quilted. And I remember going up she had it set up in her living room at the time, and I took my first quilt up there, and I quilted it, and I played with it, and it was so much fun. And she was still working at the time, and so she really couldn't. I had retired or gone on disability at this time, and she really couldn't use it, so I took it, and I quilted it. It was so nice of Kerri to buy it for me. But so I quilted, and I used it, and I loved it. The neat thing is now with technology, FaceTime, I can say, "Kerri, I'm making this quilt," and I'll show it to you, and I'll turn my camera around, and she'll look at it, and I can ask her, "Okay, what do you think what color should go with this, or how do you think this should go?" And it's just fun. I mean, we do that daily. We do that daily about what we're quilting and how we're working together, and we just have a good time. When we were growing up, she sewed a lot for us. It was at a time when it was actually cheaper to sew your clothes than to buy them, and nowadays it's not. But we had a lot of homemade clothes, and they were pretty. But it got to the point where my mom, and she liked to quilt. She'd go to Relief Society, and they'd have quilts, and they'd tie quilts, and it was fun, and she enjoyed it, and she still to this day enjoys quilting. I remember, though, I made a round the world quilt, and she wanted to make that. And I says, "Okay, let's look at your fabric, and let's look what we've got." And I came up with some colors that she did not think was going to go together. And I said, "Mom, trust me, this will be beautiful." And she did make the quilt. She read the instructions and figured out how to do it, and I helped her a little bit. And it is a very, very beautiful quilt. Do you remember it? I've got it at my house, and it hasn't been quilted yet, so we've got to do that. But it's really a pretty quilt type. And she, as she got older, she started living with me about 6 years ago, and that was one of her favorite things to do, is watch me quilt or choose a pattern that she liked, and then we'd work on it together. And as she got older, she really couldn't do as much as she liked, but she very much enjoyed watching me and Kerri and whoever. You know, she loved it when we'd say, "Oh, look, Mom, we've got this quilt done." And she really enjoyed that. And one of her favorite things is just to look at quilt magazines and plan. She likes to look at quilt magazines, and then she plans, okay, I'm going to make this quilt. And we both know, all of us know that she's probably not, but we like her to talk about it, and that's what makes her happy, is looking at quilts and making quilts and baby quilts. She loved to make baby quilts for the grandkids, and they're cherished. They are very cherished quilts. I love this quilt.
I do too.
And I wish
we didn't have to give it away.
All right.
But of course it is a Quilt of Valor quilt, so we are giving it away.
I know, but
that's okay. We'll do another one someday, just not this year probably.
no, I don't think we'll do it again. I think they've already
this
started
year it's
it.
done this year, yeah. Next year maybe.
They didn't call and ask you to do it again?
Well, yeah, they said we could, but I said no. I'm still working on the one last year. So.
Okay.
But we finally got it done. And I really like the way the lines worked.
Oh, I love the way you quilted it.
But remember, I did FaceTime you and say,
Yes.
okay, what do you think of this?
Yes, you did.
And what do you think of this design and stuff like that? So.
And silly
it worked out
me,
well.
silly me, I got it all done and I sent it up to you and said, okay, you've got a week.
You've got a week to do
before,
it.
and then we can turn it in. Because I
and
thought,
you had 2 months to piece it and said, okay, I
right.
said, Kathy, it's got to be done.
And I did it.
I know.
Except for I didn't do it. I did leave the borders for you.
I did have to
do the borders.
Yeah.
And
so,
why did you have to do?
Because we were going to do the star,
that's
the friendship
right.
star,
And I could not get that to work.
I couldn't get it to work either, and so finally it's like.
And so then I said, okay, get it done, and
it did get done, just not.
It wasn't on time, but really, I think we could have been contenders for the prize with this quilt.
Yeah.
We have to give it away. This is our quilt that we did together. So